everybody. Welcome to Bond Month here at Film Seizure. I am Jeff Arbuckle. With me, as always, my other agents, I guess. There we go. I did something clever.
You did something.
That first laugh comes from Jason Oliver. Jason, how's it going?
Hey, doing okay. I almost did a dumb, 0069 joke, but...
Oh, God. Well, you already did. You did.
I know, I did. I back weighed into it.
Yeah, you kind of... Yeah. Chuck Moore, how's it going?
I don't doctor know.
Oh, God.
Hey, we're going to... Buckle up, folks.
Yeah, oh, God. No, don't ruin my month. This was my month. I didn't ruin your guys' month.
That joke was from Chuckles with Love. Come on.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm done. I've got it out of my system.
Okay, good. So, yeah, this is Bond month. All month of November, we are going to be watching James Bond classics. And when I say
that's five, right? Five?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. And when I say classics, I'm talking about pre-Daniel Craig era. So these five that I have selected are very specifically selected. Jason, you said you won't.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. You had your hand up as if to say I have something to add to that. But yeah, this is kind of the culmination of something we decided to do at the start of the year, which was there were X number of 5-week months, and everybody got to select a month and then kind of program it their way. For example, Jason did the Australian month. Chuck, back in the summer, did the Coen Brothers, and that was good times. That was pretty good times. And November was my month. Now, somehow, some way, somewhere along the way, Jason also got October, but whatever. Whatever. But anyway, I can say that because he wasn't there for a second. He had to read.
I was trying to be discreet about it, guys.
Well, I was just saying that somewhere along the way, you also got October, but that's okay. But anyway, so here we are. I thought James Bond was a good, November kind of always was James Bond month. Like all the Pierce Brosnan movies pretty much came out in either November or December. I think that was something that carried along into the Daniel Craig era. No Time to Die was the outstanding one just because it was supposed to be out at one time and then it got delayed and then it got delayed again because of COVID and eventually just kind of, figured out a way to get out eventually. But November, I always think about how many times did Spike TV or other stations on cable would just play Bond movies for Thanksgiving or something like that. So that was kind of the decision why I decided to make this Bond month. As far as the movies that were selected, only one Bond was difficult to make the choice. And that was Roger Moore. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of weeks when we get to Roger Moore. But first up, we have Sean Connery. For some people, they think he's the only good Bond. For some people, they think he's the only Bond. For some people...
Boo all of that.
And for some people, we don't agree. That all of them bring something to the table. Now, when it came to choosing which Sean Connery movie, I basically had really 4 options that I was going to look at. One was Dr. No, because that's where everything started, and last year was the 60th anniversary. There was Thunderball, which is my personal favorite of the Sean Connery era. There is and then there's You Only Live Twice, which we will probably talk a little bit about next week, just to kind of set the tone. And then there was the one that I did end up deciding to pick, which is this week's episode, From Russia with Love. The reason why I didn't pick Goldfinger, which would be most people's selection, is one, that's most everybody's selection when it comes to James Bond anything, and two, I actually am I'm kind of an outsider in the Bond fandom. I don't particularly like Goldfinger. I don't like the character of Bond in that movie. And that's going to be something I think we're going to talk a little bit even more about next week as far as the character of Bond. But no, I landed specific, and Diamonds Are Forever is just right out. That's just not going to be that. If I'm going to do a month of bad Bond movies, then that we'll count that one. But
so you count this as a good Bond movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it is for me in the grand scheme of things. It's middle of the pack. A lot of the Sean Connery ones are kind of middle of the pack for me because I kind of grew up in a different era. But the main reason why I chose From Russia with Love is that this is my dad's favorite James Bond movie. I think it was the first one he saw, which is probably the reason why. That's something else I'll talk about later this month too, about the importance of those early ones that you see as a kid or the first one you see in the theater or whatever, and how they kind of stick with you. So that was kind of the decision to come to From Russia with Love, was that, hey, you know what? This is my dad's favorite. And this is an interesting one because it is the first to do some things. And it is also one that is not as bombastic as others, just because there's a lot more intrigue in this one, which I think is interesting. So I'll stop there. Let anybody pop in here with what you have to say.
I was trying to figure out. I rewatched all the Bond movies with my wife during the pandemic. What?
I did my wife.
My wife. And we watched all of them from beginning to end, chronological, all the way through to, what's the last one? No Time to Die?
Yep.
And I don't remember loving this one, watching them in sequence. I think it was one of my least favorite of the Connerys, and I did a full ranking at some point, and I don't know what the hell I did with it. So oh well. But I will say on this rewatch, I liked it more than I think I liked it last time. It's very simple, very simple story. It's a little goofy at times, but mostly it plays it straight. Connery is pretty good in it. I think he's kind of like settled into the role a little bit. And it's actually kind of funny, like some of the stuff from it that is so very clearly being parodied in Austin Powers.
Sure.
Like there's a lot being parodied from this movie in Austin Powers, particularly
more next week. But yeah,
you think so? I don't think so.
100% Austin Powers is more on next week's film, in my opinion.
I wouldn't agree. I mean, you've got the whole like petting the cat thing with Blofeld. You've got
Blofeld also does that.
Frarbissima.
Blofeld also does that in the next one.
He doesn't have his cat though, does he?
Yes.
Does he have his cat? I never noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a collective parody, but
right.
For me, it felt more like this one. But yeah, you do have the two characters. I do agree, Jeff, that the Fraulein and number 3 are like an amalgam of Frarbissima.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I appreciated this one a little bit more. I really like the henchman in this one.
Yeah,
There's
it's interesting is
scariness to him.
Yeah, this movie is interesting in the sense that there's no one main bad guy. There is one main bad guy,
Robert
Blofeld.
Shaw.
Well, but Blofeld is kind of positioning the pieces, and it's up to the pieces to get the other pieces to fall into place.
That's also kind of why I enjoy this one too, is because it is more of a chess match, literally and figuratively.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
There's literally a chess champion.
Is it number 6, the chess champion who's running the show?
I thought
or is it 5? But I like because it actually kind of shows you the puppet
fine.
strings.
Yeah.
Right? Like other Bond movies, it might be revealed that, oh, it's been Spectre the whole time, right? But in this one, you know it's Spectre. You see the puppet strings, and it kind of adds a little bit of tension to what's happening because you know that it's a trap. They know that they know it's a trap, but it's all still going according to plan, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. Chuck, what would you like to add?
Yeah, since it's the start of Bond month, I'll say I'm pretty sure I've seen every single Bond movie at least once. I did start a watch through around the same time you did, Jason, and I think I made it through like 12 of the movies, and then I was just bonded out, and I never went back. But I did make it through all the Connerys. This is definitely on the lower end of the Connery films for me. One, it's interesting you said you don't like the Bond character in a later film. I don't really like him in this film, but I can't really remember how much he's like this in other movies, so maybe it's just a me problem. But I found him kind of stupid. Like he was always a step behind everybody in this movie, and he had to get lucky to survive. I don't remember Bond being like that often.
I think we can probably talk that out.
Okay.
Just because I get what you're saying, but I also think that it is kind of also plays into what Jason's saying about the strings. Everything is lined up against Bond
Sure.
from the outset.
Definitely.
And I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it reminds me of Jason's complaint about Robert Pattinson's Batman. Like, he's not really solving anything. Things are being solved for him, and then he just has to kind of react situationally. But it's not like I didn't enjoy this movie. It is a lot of fun. Yeah. And Robert Shaw is great.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah. I mean, he is menacing in this.
Yeah. I assume that's what you meant by the henchman, right, Jason? You were talking about Shaw?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah. And I mean, really to a certain point, I mean, Rosa Klebb is also sort of a henchman too. It's just that she's a higher ranking henchman,
She's hilarious in this movie.
But yeah, I mean, but she's, but this is a movie where it's kind of funny because like there's no huge plan here by Spectre. It's, hey, they killed Dr. No. fuck that guy. We're going to kill him, or
right.
whatever. It's like, that's the plan. It's a revenge plan.
I mean, they want the Lecter, right, as well, but they want the cherry on top of the cake is getting Bond because they know he'll come. Yes.
Right. We ask for this person. Yeah. And he'll come.
Yeah.
So just kind of, I did a little bit for each of these movies this month. I do have the Blu-ray sets, which are very similar to what the DVDs were that were released starting about 20 years ago. And on those discs is a thing that's called the Inside series. So it was like Inside From Russia with Love, Inside on Her Majesty Secret Service, and so on. And those are they are really, really interesting little documentaries because this was from a time when the special features for a movie were not setting out to paint rosy pictures of the experience of making movies. Everything is so like it's crazy to think how if you really, really want to know what it's like to make a movie made in 2023, you ain't going to get the information on a special feature on a disc anymore. You have to find somebody who was willing to talk about if something was hell or not, or if something leaks out. It's so controlled. So there's a lot of information in those that are really, really interesting in the sense that some of these Bond movies are relatively shocking that anything watchable came out of them.
Interesting.
Because they were made at such breakneck pace that, because the first 4 movies came out in consecutive years.
Right.
And then they went to 2 years. Well, nowadays, yeah, I mean, it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years to get a new Bond movie, and we're probably not going to see a new Bond movie for many more years beyond, I mean, I can't imagine that there'll be a Bond movie in 2025 or 2026, to be honest with you, the way things are going right now.
We're probably looking at a reset in like 27, 28, right?
That would be my suspicion, although I could be wrong. I mean, they could be doing stuff behind the scenes, but it's one of the most reported on castings. So right now, most everybody just has maybe it's this person, or, maybe trying to kind of cook the books a little bit on who gets picked. But it's not something I would expect much to get. I wouldn't expect it to be much before 2026 that we get a new one. But anyway, these movies were made, and they were oftentimes made in the editing room. They were oftentimes made, they were made in very kind of low budget for what they really are. So it's kind of surprising, but the reason why this one was made second was that the book was published in 1957. I think it's the 5th book. I think it's the one that follows Diamonds Are Forever. And JFK listed as one of his favorite novels in 1961. So they were kind of striking while the iron was hot with that. Because when JFK listed that, then Playboy was picking up, publishing novellas or chapters from Bond books. So they were striking while the iron was hot. Right. This was one of the movies that is not heavily overhauled for the movies. Now, a lot of them, particularly the Roger Moore ones, are extremely heavily overhauled to make those movies the way they are. Like, the Moonraker book is nothing like the Moonraker movie, of course. But I mean, you would hope, at least. But there's, and they had to rearrange certain pieces of things that would be in the novels to be in different movies. But this one, the only main difference was that the villains in the original Ian Fleming novels were mostly SMERSH, which was it's explicitly a Russian organization, anti-spy, foreign intelligence organization.
And they're mentioned a couple times in this.
That is correct, because Rosa Club was part of that. And Spectre is a private organization, which they brought. It kind of, I think Spectre was actually created in the Thunderball novel. I think. I could be wrong on that, but Spectre is, they decided to make, let's just make this private organization the bad guys. That way you can bring in all these different types of characters. They don't have to explicitly be Russian. So that was really the only main difference. I mean, the stuff with the Orient Express, all of that is, all of that comes from the book too.
Spectre is the special executive for counterintelligence, terrorism, revenge, and extortion.
Yeah, it's right there in their name. They're the bad guys.
The specter of Chuck making bad Bond puns is going to hang over all these episodes.
Oh,
wait, that wasn't a pun, though.
That's the real thing.
I know, but I'm just saying. I've been waiting to use that for a minute.
Criminal mastermind Jason Blofeld. I've been
trying to spend all this time finding my ranking, but I don't know if I ever actually wrote it down.
Well, mine is published on the site because I spent that whole year.
I remember, though, pretty sure that From Russia with Love was like you, Chuck. It was one of my least favorite of the Connerys. But anyway, sorry to derail that. I'm just going to stop looking.
Well, I can tell you right now, for me, it was 14th with Dr.
I remember I very much liked You Only Live Twice and Goldfinger. I remember liking those two a lot.
You said this is your 14th, Jeff, in the total run of Bond films?
Yeah.
Interesting.
15th is Dr. No, 16th is Goldfinger, and then You Only Live Twice is 9th, and Thunderball is 7th.
So is Goldfinger like the Mendoza line then? Because you said you didn't like that, and you like
Oh,
this,
no.
and they're only a few apart.
Well, I said really what it comes to, most people will rank Goldfinger in the top 3.
Yeah.
16th is almost, I mean, like there would be some people who would think that
You're nuts.
Yeah, like I'm a crazy person.
Hot
But
take,
at least,
hot take, Jeff.
yeah, but
I
at
have a
least
hot take. I have a hot take.
But at least Diamonds Are Forever at 21st. At least it's not that, you know.
Right.
My hot take is that Sean Connery might be my least favorite Bond.
Well, I don't. I mean, there was never okay, let's address that, because I don't have a favorite Bond. I think they all do.
Right.
I don't have a favorite or a least favorite
one.
Right.
But I do think I have a least favorite. Yeah. But I don't have a favorite.
And I think some of that is going to be, that's fair, because if you think about it, it's like we all grew up in the Roger Moore era. You know, so we have a little bit more of a soft spot for that. It's why the Roger Moore selection for this month was the one that I had to think about the longest.
Which one did you choose? Just spoil it.
The Spy Who Loved Me, which is, I think, the best one of that.
Yeah, 'cause the last two are so bad that he did.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really came down to
he was really
3.
close to ruining his legacy with those two.
Yeah. I mean, it really came down to 4 choices with really only 3 in tight contention. But the Spy Who Loved Me was it was the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
So
I am also one of the ones that loves The Man with the Golden Gun. I know you don't like that one. I fucking love that movie.
out.
I love that movie so much. It's so much fun. It's what got to be maybe the campiest Bond.
Oh, for sure. It was. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, sorry. I'm. This is not a general Bond discussion, so I don't want to derail us. I'm just having fun, remembering all these movies that I just watched 2 years ago that I can't spring instantly to my mind like you can because you've seen them so many times. But they're close enough that I'm starting. The memories are starting to flood.
Yeah. Anyway. I guess let's talk about the movie itself, and I'll interject with some behind the scenes stuff as we get there. But this movie is the first to have a pre-title sequence. Dr. No had a gun barrel sequence, but it launched from the gun barrel directly into Maurice Bender's title sequence.
Right.
Maurice Bender did not do the title sequence for this or for Goldfinger. But then when he came back for Thunderball, he did them all until all the way through License to Kill. He died shortly after, I believe. And the guy who took over from that, going from Goldeneye all the way through No Time to Die, is like a student of Maurice Bender's. So it's like he specifically decided to do that. So this one originally wasn't going to have that pre-title sequence. That was originally the first scene of the movie, but they decided to move it before the credits. Just again, they didn't know what they were really creating. They didn't know that this was going to be like a tradition at the time. They were just like,
right.
Let's just do something different. Let's move it before the titles. The one thing that is added to the gun barrel sequence is that the really sharp horns at the start of the Bond theme, that little 2-second bit is actually a song on its own. It's called James Bond is Back. And John Barry added that to it as just kind of a snap you into the movie sort of thing.
Since we're talking about this right now, I did want to mention that this is the first time I noticed, I think, that Connery did not do the gun barrel sequence.
Nope, he did not until Thunderball. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I mentioned it to you to confirm.
Let's remake Thunderball.
Oh, God, we're going to hear that all fucking month, too.
Make that an hour and a half.
The pre-title sequence is goofy.
Not as goofy as next week's.
That is pretty goofy, because it doesn't really make any sense. But man, it's goofy because why would he wear the Bond mask? It's just there to trick the audience, and that's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's Spectre doesn't half-ass anything. Like if they're going to train a guy to kill James Bond, they're going to make the guy he kills look like James Bond. Now, funny story about that is that they shot that scene. I think it was the second unit thing, so it was being shot. And when they got the film back and they edited it, and they were like, "Oh shit, the guy under the mask looks too much like Sean Connery already."
Yes.
So they had to reshoot it with a guy with a fake mustache on.
Oh my god!
See, I told you these movies are surprisingly watchable, despite how let's just fucking do it. The whole production.
Well, I hadn't even thought about it because it doesn't even matter that we talked about the one really big glaring flaw in next week's movie, and it's really exposed right here because they fully know well what James Bond looks like, all of Spectre.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, somebody does, but yeah. That. By the way, I love the fact that is called Spectre Island. Like, I love it. It's like just call it Bad Guy Place. You know,
I love all the training sequence. That whole
oh my god, that's fantastic.
Training is
wonderful.
Fucking hilariously.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Guy shooting flamethrower, dudes running through the background. I'm like, oh my god! Like I forgot because I remember the '80s Roger Moore, obviously, and that is like the campy Bond that I know. I remember watching these and being like, this isn't fun enough when I was a kid. You know, like, and then I watched that scene. I'm like, how did I not like laugh hysterically at this? It's so stupid and over the top. Like, oh, we use real bullets and real people. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, it's
shut up, Spectre.
Hey, Spectre only takes those who can survive their training.
And,
right.
and then they reward them with conjugal visits from beautiful women because that's basically like Robert Shaw's concubine he's about to get down with her when he gets the call.
Well, and then he gets a reward of being just slugged in the gut just to prove how hard he is.
Oh God, yes, that's wonderful. She just hauls off and like haymakers him right in the gut.
Yeah. But we're a little bit ahead of ourselves. So So basically, we got Spectre Island where Robert Shaw, who plays Grant, is Donald Grant, is training or is ready to be called up to the majors.
Oh man.
And he goes, by the way, also the guy who runs Spectre Island is, he will later show up in the other movies, to play the head of the KGB in almost all of the Roger Moore movies. That's Walter Gotell. It's again, lots of people got used multiple places and multiple different characters in these movies, especially bit players like that.
His name is Morzani in this movie.
Yeah, Morzani, yes. And so he basically welcomes Rosa Klebb, who has defected from Smersh over to Spectre. And he's basically like, try out these goons. We have a whole plethora of goons for you to shop through. And she wants to see Grant. She slugs him in the gut, and she's like, "Yeah, this guy'll do."
Yep.
Is Smersh? That's the funniest sounding thing. I know that's like an actual real government agency, but it's so funny. Like Spectre is just way harder.
Oh yeah, that's so cooler. Yeah,
I would defect from Smersh to Spectre in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what's the acronym? Yeah, that one. Yeah, I want that one.
Yeah, Spectre. Definitely, that's the place for nefarious doing for me.
Right. Now, Lottie Lenya, who plays Klebb, was actually like fresh off of an Oscar nomination when she was in this movie, so it was kind of a get for them. What was she
nominated for?
The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone in 1961.
I thought it was for kicking from behind a chair.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, she should. She should get nominated for
I
that.
thought it was for bullwhipping, or was it a bullwhip or a horsewhip that she has?
I don't know.
Horsewhip, I think.
She has all the things.
Yeah.
Horse whipping pretty Russian blondes.
Who are actually Italian.
Right. Yeah, who are dubbed. Yeah.
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 You could totally tell she's Italian, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like, Chuck, I expected you to pick up on that immediately with all the 60s Italian movies.
She's so daffy in this movie. Like when she's making little mustaches with her hair. It's like
Well, the thing is that what you don't realize is that she's actually not a field agent. The fact that she gets picked for this is so that they know that she is manipulatable.
yeah, she's a Red Sparrow basically, right? She's
I mean, she's just
a
a
sexual
clerk.
manipulator.
Yeah, I
Probably
mean,
been trained by the state to
Rosa Klebb knows how to pick
do
them.
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She knew what was up with her. She's
Well,
like,
even the beginning of this movie is the title sequence is very Italian or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
the-
sort of Italian by way of Peter Fonda.
Or Jess Franco. It's like every Jess Franco like beginning of a movie with the sexy women dancing.
But they do. I love how it's a mix of actual projection and burnt-in credits, and it's pretty seamless. Like,
Yeah, the hand movements are pretty cool in it.
yeah, it's. I remember commenting on how much I liked it when Susan and I watched it a couple years ago. It's like, yeah, it's up there. I think on my title sequences in the rankings.
I don't know, man. When it comes to title sequences, I'm such a Maurice Bender guy that next week's is so much better.
I love next week's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, Spy Who Loved Me is pretty good too. I don't know. Anyway, but anyway, so basically, Klebb calls in this kind of know nothing, just consulate clerk, Tatiana Romanova. Now, I assume that's also where the Black Widow got her name in Marvel Comics, because Natasha Romanoff's actual last name is Romanova.
All right, so I just found a weird factoid. It's even cooler than that. It has a connection to next week. I did not realize that Lenya recorded a duet version of Mac the Knife with Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, because Lottie Lenya is not really an act. I mean, she is an actress. She had a handful of movies, but she was actually a monologuist and a singer.
Yeah,
An Austrian-American singer, du Suisse and actress.
interesting. Quite the Renaissance lady.
Yeah, and kind of a Renaissance role because she is very clearly toying with Daniela Bianchi.
Yes.
The Bond movies were actually quite often did a lot of stuff like that. I mean, the Two Henchmen and Diamonds Are Forever are very clearly male lovers, and it's this has always kind of been there and kind of been in the movies, which is kind of interesting. They did talk about that in the behind the scenes stuff, that the context is there, and it was really up to Terrence Young to be very careful with the direction of that, because it would have been slapped down immediately by the censors.
Yeah,
Interesting.
But he does it just well enough to get the point across and still allow it to pass. But yeah, she's basically like, hey, you're pretty, and Bond probably likes pretty girls, probably.
and it's important to note that Tatiana thinks that she's working for Rosa
Smirch.
Klebb in the context of Smirch.
Exactly. This is
Not as Spectre.
there's all sorts of crossing and double crossing going on here, because Klebb goes to talk to.
She's working on the behalf of her country, when in fact
Exactly.
she's working against her country.
Exactly. She because Klebb has met with Blofeld, and then there's a there's a chess champion.
Vladek Shibal as Kronstein.
Yeah, Kronstein, who is Spectre number 5. He's a Czech and a grandmaster of chess. Now, actually, that whole chess scene, there's a couple of interesting behind-the-scenes things there. This is one of the things that is wholesale ripped off from something else. The chess match itself is a recreation of the 1960 finishing move at the championship between David Bornstein and Boris Spassky, who makes the final move to win the game.
Oh, Spassky, I remember him well.
Yes. Jason's quite the chess aficionado. But anyway, that so they were just like, hey, let's just take that and we'll use that for our movie. The Bond producers,
you might as well. Like, if you hire a chess consultant, just pull from the best,
Pull from an actual event, yeah. That's one of the things that Broccoli and Saltzman, as the producers, they would see a thing that would fascinate them, and it would almost inevitably end up in a Bond movie, no matter how weird or out of place it is. There's a whole thing.
I can almost see it being like, all right, we got to have a Spectre agent who's a chess master because, he's going to pull all the strings and it'll be the perfect plan. It's like, well, wait, how do we lend any legitimacy to this? So they probably looked at chess matches. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably watched it themselves and they're like, that was a neat move, and not really, and just saying, let's do
Possibly.
it. Yeah. One of them probably did.
It's a cheap way to get some legitimacy in there.
Exactly. Yeah, they were pretty well known of, like, they were world travelers. They would see something. They had all sorts of weird interests. Something would come up and they're like, yep, we're going to use that in a Bond movie. But that room, it was the room, was very like, very beautifully, dressed
ornate
up and everything. Yeah, and ornate. Except when they shot it, there was actually no ceiling. That part is actually a matte painting. They built the rest of the room and then put in a matte painting to cover it because they wouldn't have been able to get the lights right if they actually had a ceiling. So there's your filmmaking 101 for you right there. It's like sometimes it's not good to have a ceiling on your room when you're filming an indoor scene.
I guess the Spectre training grounds were inspired by Spartacus, which makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so see, there's something else that they saw. Yeah. Now, interestingly, speaking of, here's another connection to Kubrick. Ken Adam, who was the production designer on Dr. No, who did all these elaborate sets, he was working on Strangelove, so he had to turn down From Russia with Love. And Kubrick he's a big fan of Bond.
I could see that.
Films. His daughter worked on Moonraker. So, but anyway, so basically they're like, okay, guys, this is what we need to do. Hey, Kleb, you know how to get this thing. You're no longer part of the government, so we can't get it directly. But she's like, well, I know, a pretty clerk who probably would like a promotion. We'll get her to tell the British that she's going to defect and give this Lecter over to us or over to them, but then we'll take it and we'll kill Bond, killing two birds with one stone. And Blofeld is like, yes, I like
how you softened that up. They were going to kill her if she didn't do it. It didn't matter if she wanted the promotion or not.
Well, no, I wasn't.
She tells her as much. She's like, you don't leave this room if you don't agree. Yeah.
Right. So that leads to then Kleb and Tanya meeting up and saying, okay, well, let's, here's the deal. And if you're not going to do it, you don't get to leave the room. And she's like, well, then in that case, I guess I'm going to do it. And when not knowing that, I guess news reaches Istanbul very late because Rosa Klebb just shows up in uniform. Like hey, I'm still on the team here, and tells, Tatiana that, hey, This is the deal. This is what you're going to do. We're going to send a picture of you. We're going to send a headshot to England and say this, and you're going to do this, and we're gonna get that James Bond.
They did explain that away, though. They said that the Russian government was keeping it under wraps that she left.
Yes.
So news couldn't have traveled to Istanbul.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, no, that is fair. Yeah, because I'm guessing that's the good old fashioned communists keeping the kibosh on negative news.
Well, yeah, they said it would be embarrassing or something to have it known publicly. Yeah.
So they'll let it just work against them, which is really smart too.
Right. Right. It's the fallacy of hubris.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bond has so much hubris in these movies.
Oh yes, he does. That's kind of like just one of his things, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So basically now this leads M to basically say, hey Bond, we need you to come in. Now Bond's hanging out with his girlfriend, Sylvia Trench. Now this is the last time we ever see Sylvia Trench. She appeared in the early part of Dr. No. In fact, they were playing Baccarat together.
Oh yeah.
And she introduces herself in a very notable way, which then causes Bond to respond that he is Bond, James Bond. And so she's kind of important. Then she sneaks into his room, takes off all of her clothes, and just wears one of his business shirts and putting the ball around while
that also seems to happen a lot.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she waits for Bond to come in so that she can put his balls around.
I mean, that basically happens in this movie.
Pretty much. Except for, yeah, you're right. No, it does. Pretty much. She doesn't have any golfing equipment, but everything else happens.
It happens in the next movie too.
Yeah. It happens in every one of these movies.
4 golden balls.
Yes, it does. It's true. It's true. Sorry. Let's go back to this movie.
Yes.
So, yeah, basically he's like, M is like, so we got some fan mail for you, James. And he's like, this is a trap, right?
Like, of course it's a trap.
Of course it is. But it's worth, the juice is worth the squeeze here. Yeah. Is what M is basically getting at.
And at this point, you're like, oh man, Spectre's plan is perfect because this is exactly what number 5 said would happen. Kronstein is like, he's got his finger on the pulse. Yep.
Right. He knew they knew it was a trap, and he knew they wouldn't be able to resist.
Move ahead anyway. They couldn't resist it. Yep.
Well, yeah. A lector is really important if you want to decode what people are sending back and forth.
You got to know what them Russians are saying.
Yep. And which Spectre wants to know what everybody is saying. So, of course, they want one, too. But anyway, so Bond is like, well, I guess I'm going to go. I mean, she is, she's kind of cute. And he goes out and teases Miss Moneypenny because that's what he does.
That's always what he does. Oh, man.
God,
poor Miss Moneypenny.
Well, the fact that also M knows that, like he has ears everywhere. He knows that there's shenanigans going on in that other room. But yeah, basically he's off to Istanbul to meet with Ali Karim Bey, who is the head of the MI6 Station T for Turkey, I assume. They don't think too hard on these types of things.
No, it's good because you know exactly what everything is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think later on in Skyfall, I think they say that that the guy from No Country for Old Men was from Station H in Hong Kong. It's like, oh God, it's like it could be Honduras. I mean, don't you? I mean, come on, guys.
No,
we're hungry. Anyway. But anyway, so he, basically he heads out, and of course he has the little joke where he he signs the picture of the girl because M told him to leave. I'm pretty sure Bond's going to know what this chick looks like now that he's seen her. So he signs it from Russia with Love and gives it to.
Oh, and he gets. You got to mention he gets the briefcase.
Oh yeah, so
weapon.
Q. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, this is important because this is the first time that Desmond Llewellyn shows up in a movie as Q. Now
He's so fucking nerdy. I love him.
Yeah.
Now the quartermaster showed up in Dr. No because M did not want Bond to continue to carry a Beretta, which was a mistake on Ian Fleming's part of writing that Bond carries a Beretta, which is the Beretta was typically a woman's gun. So instead of giving the Walther weapon, which was that was the weapon that the Nazis used. That's a good job on that MI6. But anyway, not the same type, but the same brand.
Is Fleming trolling? Maybe he's trolling a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I get the impression. I mean, like Ian Fleming was in military intelligence. I get the impression that he was not a field agent. I think he wanted to be a field agent, so he created James Bond. But
he romanticized it, yeah.
But he probably didn't. He probably liked Berettas because they were so easily concealable. But anyway, they don't have much stopping power, as they say.
Right.
Anyway, so Desmond Llewellyn comes in as Q, and he's like, "Righto, here's what you got. You got this thing. It's got some gold coins in them because sure." You're gonna, I guess this is the Amazing Race. You need some money on this leg of your.
You're gonna need to buy a cigarette later.
Yeah, right. And then there is the big thing in this. There's two big things in it. One, there's a little knife, little dagger that comes out of the
throwing dagger.
Yep. And then, but most importantly, there's a gas canister in it, and if you don't turn the
you have to open it the right way.
You have to open it the right way or it blows up in your face. Yeah. To which he has Bond try it out. And there's some good face acting there by Sean Connery when he opens it and it doesn't blow up in his face. Because he kind of makes a sigh of relief and he's like, yeah, okay, I think I got it. I'm good to go. And so he heads out. Now everybody, go ahead.
I just remembered when we used to play GoldenEye, and the PPK. You get stuck with the PPK. It's like the worst gun in the game,
right?
And one of our friends used to always call it the PP hunk of do-rang.
Yep. Because he couldn't find a better gun. Yeah, so he's stuck with the
fucking PP hunk of do-rang.
I feel like whenever you say one of our friends, you're talking about a specific person, but I could be wrong.
Probably.
I don't know. We can take that offline, but
yeah.
So anyway, so he heads out. Now, one of my favorite running gags in this is that every single person who works for Kareem Bey is his son.
Yes.
And it's like
Reese said the best line in the movie, though.
Yeah, go for it.
Blood is the best security in this business.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bond gets picked up at the airport by one of Karen Bay's kids. They notice that they're being followed, and it's like, yeah, this is the everyday thing. They're always following, and
right, they have an agreement of following, basically.
Yes. That's how things are done.
He's like, today we're being followed by this person with this license plate, and it's like we're cordial that way, basically.
Yep, pretty much. And so then he goes and he meets Karen Bay, and that's Pedro Armendariz. He unfortunately passed away before the film was completed. He actually.
I was just reading that he had cancer.
Yeah, he found out he got sick while working one day, and everybody on the set, like basically the doctor for these early Bond movies was the doctor of the Queen.
Oh damn.
Yeah, and basically he found out from that doctor. It's like, yeah, bad news. You've got cancer and it's inoperable.
Yeah.
And he
ended up unaliving himself, right?
That is correct. So he ended up, he says, I'm going to finish the movie. And it was like there were stories about how there were some scenes where there are literally people on their knees behind him, basically holding him up so that he could deliver his
So
lines.
good in this, too.
Yeah, he is good.
Yeah, really
Favorite
good.
people in this movie.
Really
Yeah.
good.
And so, yeah, after
I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell.
right.
without
No,
knowing.
you really,
Even knowing, I don't think I can see it in his performance. Yeah.
exactly. And, they get to a point where it's like they had to move all of his scenes to the front of the production schedule. And they're like, we got to get this stuff done now. And if there's anything that the props needed, they needed to be done now.
God,
so
what
that we can finish
professional.
this.
Seriously. Like that, the sheer force of will that would take.
He probably loved doing it, too, though.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is my last film.
It's my last legacy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also needed to finish the movie because if he'd have left, he wouldn't have gotten paid.
Oh, there's not insurance for that shit?
Nope. Not back then.
Not in the
Nope.
60s.
Yeah, so basically he had to finish it so that his family had some money.
Yeah.
As soon as he finished, he went to the UCLA hospital, and he ended up smuggling a gun in and shooting himself
Jeez, that's
to not waste away. Now, 25 years later, his son will appear in License to Kill. So more on that here in a little while.
Interesting.
Interesting.
More on that in a few
Bond
weeks.
threads. Yeah.
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 Oh, all of these movies are connected in some way, shape, or form. Next week's movie is kind of the hub of all of these conversations that connect everything, or connect.
Which is
everything.
kind of interesting considering what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. So anyway, so basically, Karen Bay is like, hey, come to the basement. I've got something to show you. I installed a fucking
periscope.
Yeah.
periscope.
This killed me, man. I was like, oh yeah, that camp, there it is. Got a fucking floor pair.
Well, didn't he say it was a gift from the British government or something like that?
Oh, who was it that he said? It was something like basically when they cleared out when they cleared it out, it's like, yeah, we installed something for you, and it's a fucking periscope to look into the Russian consulate.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. I'm thinking to myself, how does this actually work on the top end, right?
I have to assume it is under a table that is apparently nailed down.
Really obvious, right? Because they even pull it down when they're done looking at it. It's like, how far up was the thing? It's like this 5-foot pole's just up in the middle of the room.
Well, hey, they have a friendly agreement as far as looking in on it.
Yeah, they probably know. As long as you don't listen, you can watch us. In there.
Right. Yeah, they know it's there exactly. They couldn't hear anything, so yeah, they didn't actually learn a ton from that meeting, other than
they did learn.
They learned
really
quite
important.
a bit.
Yeah.
the one guy that was there. They learned
Bulgarian. Yeah. The Bulgarian is in town, and he has it out for Karen Bay, big time.
Yeah.
That he's a paid assassin, and he is quite nasty.
He loves to kill.
He sure does. Now in walks a shapely pair of legs, to which Bond is like, oh yeah, that's probably the girl I'm here to meet. And it's shaping up nicely from this.
Nicely from here.
Yeah. So basically, before Bond meets Tanya, there's a whole other adventure going on, because Karen Bay is like, you can't go back to your hotel tonight. If this guy's in town, you better not go back to your hotel. Let's go to the gypsy camp and watch a couple of women fight.
Oh my God, fucking gypsy woman fight.
Yeah.
This is so weird. But sure.
Again, Broccoli and Saltzman probably saw this somewhere and was like,
oh my God,
we're doing this.
It's not even like the gypsy fight that I find so ridiculous. It's what happens after the attack with the gypsy ladies who were fighting. That is unbelievably ridiculous.
Yeah, it's fine. It's Bond. It's Bond logic.
Yeah,
it's Bond logic.
Yeah, they put aside all of their
They bond with Bond.
They're in trouble for bonding with Bond. Yep, there it
Exactly.
is, the Spectre.
Well, my guess is that the guy they were fighting over got killed.
They smirched a lot.
He might have
Right.
got killed. That actually would have been a nice little just add-in.
Yeah, it's like he's dead, but you're around
He's dead
still.
now, so you don't have anything to fight about. So hey, you want to get with Bond?
You want to
I love
smirch? You want to smirch boots with Bond?
It's Smirching Bates. I love that guy's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. He just yells thank you all the time.
Oh,
So yeah, they show up, and that guy comes over, and like Karen Bay knows every single person in Turkey, and it's kind of great.
Yeah, they're all like, Ali, Karen Bay.
Yeah, come on over. And yeah, also Karen Bay has also got women on the side too. Like all of his Miss Moneypennies are not wanting. Let's put it that way. They are well satisfied.
They're Miss Dollar Hundreds.
Yeah, right.
Oh God. He's been unleashed.
So basically it's like, this is a special night. Something really cool is going to happen. We're being called to table to eat. I hope you like to eat with your fingers. Of course Bond eats with his fingers. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think he's going to be doing after the big fight?
Eating with his mouth, probably.
A little bit of fingers too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only thing I can describe the two women who come out of their trailers is
Hot.
well, yes, but their act and they're dressed sort of like what Universal would have made in their classic horror days and call it a jungle woman. Like they are feral. They are fucking feral. Like they can't even get to the fucking fighting straw or whatever it is they're fighting on without trying to claw each other's fucking eyeballs
fucking
out.
Kills me because it is like they're in the cat poses and everything, like fingers out. Oh, it's so dumb, but it's so funny.
Have you ever watched those gypsy shows from America?
Yeah.
That's what these women are posing like in that
Most
show.
definitely.
Those shows
Yeah.
too.
The stereotype of the gypsy woman fighting is on full display here.
Yes. And and like Bond's like, this is pretty cool. It's like I didn't know I was signing up for this,
It's like
but I'll
dinner
take it.
theater, you know?
Yeah, exactly. He's on board. He is on board.
It's like, I think I get it without the subtitles.
Right.
That's Kareem is translating so good.
Yeah. So he's they get to they get to fight, and then all of a sudden there's gunshot. So that Bulgarian guy is taking his shots at Karen Bay. Now
We also know that
this
Grant
yep,
is on
that's
this too.
yeah.
Sorry.
So Grant got to Istanbul ahead of Bond, of course, because Rosa Klebb knows how both sides are going to play this.
Yep.
So he's there and he's been following Bond around. More importantly, he has been eliminating people that could cause harm to Bond. As he says it later, he has been his guardian angel.
Yep.
And sure enough, he sets up shop to basically take out all of these assassins that even get near Bond. And he takes out one guy who was going to shoot Bond in the back, I think. And like Bond, like gets the feeling that somebody else is involved here. Now, of course, that's going to become much more apparent to him later. But, so basically, Karen Bay does get shot, but he does end up getting the Bulgarian, or he ends up fighting off some of the Bulgarians guys, and the Bulgarian escapes.
Yes.
To which Bond and Karen Bay are going to be like, all right, we're going to be staying here. Bond's going to get some action, a lot of action, because it seems like he doesn't sleep. Like it seems like the next day he's still going.
I don't even know that Bond can satisfy those two women. I think
No, they are feral.
they're almost they're feral and rabid at the same time.
Smirched, though. He definitely smirched.
He
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
smirched.
Oh yeah, he definitely does. So basically, like that, the next night, Karen Bay is like, "Hey, I know where, I know where the Bulgarian is going to be." And Bond's like, "Well, you can't go alone. Not you're hurt, so I'll go with you." And Bond's got like a little sniper rifle.
Compact rifle.
Yep, little compact sniper rifle that he puts together. And he's going to take the shot for Karen Bay, but he's like, "Nah, man, this is not your
He's
fight.
like, one arm or not, I'm taking this shot.
I'm doing it." Yeah. And so he's like, "Well, where's he going to be coming out of?" And he's like, "Well, my sons are dressed as police officers. They're going to go over and knock on the door and take a look at Anita
Ekberg.
Ekberg.
Man, she is a pretty lady. Have you seen her?
Yeah.
Woo!
But she should have kept her mouth shut.
She could have kept her mouth shut.
Because it's like, look at the mouth, and basically that's his little escape hatch that the Bulgarian is going to come out of. And
God,
so
how stupid is that?
I know, because it turns out there's no fire escape there.
No, he's just going to climb down the wall.
Yeah, like he's fucking Dracula or something. Yeah. So so basically the sons, like ring the doorbell, and the mouth opens up and the Bulgarian's coming out, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna take the shot." And by the way, I'm never letting you guys use my shoulder to shoot a gun off of, because I value my hearing.
I've never planned to shoot a gun, so no shoulder.
Was that one silenced?
Yeah,
it sounded like it was a bit silenced. Yeah.
It was a bit silenced, but still.
They could get burned too.
Probably.
Yeah.
This is kind of also, this gets ripped off by The Living Daylights. There's a scene very similar to that in The Living Daylights.
That's not really ripped off, right?
Well, no, but it's calling back to, I mean, yeah. But anyway, there's two guys waiting for somebody to try to escape or shoot somebody in a window, and they're, anyway.
Yeah.
So they get the Bulgarian. Everything seems to be good. Now Bond gets to meet the lady. And,
finally.
Yeah, I know, right? We're about halfway through now. And he gets there, back to his hotel room, and he's he's going to clean up, basically, and he hears rustling going on, and it's Tatiana, basically nude, going to cover up under the covers.
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right, cool."
It's that little bit of barely nudity in the cheeky way that Bond films do it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always that moment where it's just like that little glimpse of nudity, that little suggestion, right?
Yeah. And basically, she's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm your, I'm the person you're here to meet." And he's like, "Okay, cool. Shut up. We're going to talk tomorrow. Tonight is for Smershing." Now, there is something, though, that is also part of Spectre's plan. On the other side of, by the way, hang on, we'll get to that here in a minute, because it's a whole Spectre hotel, because Bond finds out there's listening devices.
Yeah.
And so he calls down to the hotel room, and he's like, "This room's not going to do it." And she's like, "Well, the girl at the desk is like, 'Oh, did you hear that?' to the guy in the back." And he's like, "I don't know, tell him he's got the wedding suite." Yeah, okay, you should tell him there's nothing left.
Right, I know. I thought that too. I was like, why are they telling
this organization is not very smart.
No. The number 5 did not anticipate the incompetence of his own organization.
Right. So they move him to the bridal suite, to where there is a window through a mirror where they can film Bond having sex with with Tatiana.
Yeah.
The idea is that's going to later be leveraged as embarrassment for the British intelligence community, and why Bond is going to basically, quote unquote, kill himself.
Murder, suicide. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So anyway, so they're filming that. Now the next day, Bond finds out everything he needs to know about the Lecter. They go to, I don't know. I guess he also realizes that room's probably also bugged, so they get on a ferry to talk it out, and talk about the plan as to how they're going to get the Lecter. Well, Bond decides to kind of do a little bit of misdirection here. So he sets up a bomb to go off in the consulate. And that's a pretty good scene too, because he asked the guy, it's like, about the
Is
time.
your clock right?
Yeah, and the Russian clocks are always like, bam! And Bond, of course, knows it's coming.
Right.
So he doesn't react to it at all. Everybody runs off, and so Bond goes in and grabs the Lecter and makes his way out. Now to
grabs
get
the girl too.
Right. Yeah. And now basically at this point, to get out, they're going to have to get on the Orient Express, because they've got to cross Soviet controlled land, basically. So, now there is a Soviet officer on there that Bond and Karen Bay basically capture, and they do the thing with the suit jacket.
Yeah, they put it around his arm so he can't.
Yeah, so he can't. Yeah, those are some well-made buttons to hang
yes.
on there. But anyway, Karen Bay has a thing where he wants to tell everybody his life story. And the one guy, when they capture the guy kind of like groans. And he's like, "Oh, I've had a very interesting life." And the guy's like, "Oh."
It's kind of like Airplane.
Yeah, kind of.
Where he's telling the story to the unsuspecting people and they end up killing themselves.
Right, yeah. It's like, at one point, Karen Bay was telling this little lady who's pouring, or this guy who's pouring gasoline over himself with a match.
Yep.
So anyway, but, of course, Grant is, because they're aware of how this all is going to have to play out, Grant is there too. And sadly, he ends up killing both Karen Bay and the Russian guy.
Soviet, yeah.
Now Grant, I think there's only one thing that Grant does that is a little bit of a Hail Mary, is that he knows the Bond's going to have to call for somebody to meet once they get on the other side of the Iron Curtain. And so he kind of has to do a little bit of a Hail Mary to take that guy's place.
Yeah.
Oh, he also kills that. I mean, he totally kills that guy. He kills some guys in this movie. Like, he may have a higher body count than Bond actually does in this movie.
His British impersonation is
my
good.
God. Yeah,
it's so over the top. They totally teach this at Spectre.
Yeah.
Wait, so Grant's escape is his own escape.
Well, it is, but he has to take Nash's place. So it's a little bit of a Hail Mary for him to know what to say to this Nash character that Bond is going to meet once they're on the other side of the, once the Orient Express stops, and he knows that I've got to get help, or I've got to meet with somebody because Karen Bay is dead. You know what I mean? Like, Grant gets off first to meet with Nash and kills him to take his place. But Nash thinks he's meeting with Bond.
Right. So Nash Grant, had been listening to Bond earlier. And it's weird that they have the train cover this up, or all the surrounding signs, because Bond asks him for a light or a match. And he says, "I use lighters." And it's the whole code that he learned from Bond talking to what's-his-name earlier. So he knew exactly what to do there to get into Bond's good graces.
That was a good shot too, where Bond is walking outside the train and Grant is
And
following
he's coming
inside.
through.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they cover that up with the sound. Like, why didn't they just let us hear that that's what was asked? I had to read their lips to figure out that he was asking for a match. It's
Yeah.
weird.
But at the same time, also, it's like, it is, I mean, it's still, I mean, it is still a little bit of a Hail Mary that it would be the same codes again.
I mean, he got lucky there, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's the same code the whole fucking movie, so why change it?
Fair enough. Yeah. I guess why change it up now? Yeah. Well, I mean, right.
I get you from
Right.
a like a perspective of national security. They probably shouldn't use the same code 51 times. But
Right. 50 times though is fine. 51. That's one too many.
You gotta switch it.
You gotta switch it up.
You're also kind of counting on the fact that they don't know what they look like, right? Like
I can buy that though. Actually,
but
back
I think maybe in today's intelligence,
oh,
they would get an image of who they're supposed to meet. You know?
Oh
They
yeah. I
couldn't
mean,
yeah.
I mean, and also back then, I let that slide because Bond's a 00. That's a slightly different.
Yeah, you don't want to
thing.
like have a book.
You don't want all your 00s to be known. Yeah.
But it also is so ridiculous in all the Bond movies anyway because he openly introduces himself as his name in every movie. Like he's the most most famous double agent in the history of double agents.
Fair enough. But there are times though where he does pull out the universal exports. You know.
Yeah.
We'll hear that later. And we'll actually see a sign for it next week. But
anyways, later, if they had facial recognition stuff or whatever, they just would have Ethan Hunt printed a face.
Oh, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah, there would have
right?
definitely been a face print situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at some point, there would be the dramatic reveal of the,
Yes. Like
definitely.
in the beginning of this movie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Totally.
I do love the sound effect of them pulling that mask off. It sounds so wet and gross.
Squelchy. It's very squelchy.
Squelchy, yeah.
Very
That's a good-
smirchy.
Very spectery.
Ugh.
So anyway, so now Grant is now face to face with Bond, and Bond.
It's stupid.
This is the culmination of Spectre arranging everything, and now Bond is truly behind at this point. Because in one regard, Bond is probably a little off his kilter because Karen Bay was killed on the train.
Yeah, once Karen Bay gets killed, like Bond is at a disadvantage.
He's a little bit in the open at that point.
Yep.
Because he has to also realize, like, oh shit, that guy is dead. Somebody killed, or
somebody I don't know.
well, they do say that that there was a struggle and that they killed each other.
Yeah.
However, but still, Bond has to realize my guy who's leading me through the scenario is dead.
And that's a little hard to believe too.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
That they killed each other. Bond believes it though because he actually told Karen Bay's kids that the guy who killed him was with.
I know.
So this is him being stupid. Like, how did that fucking happen? Where'd this guy get a knife and stab him in the back? Like, what?
Yeah. How did they both die in that struggle? That seems a little.
Well,
I
think don't they explain that Karen Bay was attacked and then Karen Bay turned around and shot him or something like that?
Why would Karen Bay turn his back on the dude though?
No, because he's got his jacket.
I mean, whatever the explanation is,
at bare minimum, there should be a healthy amount of suspicion around what happened in that room.
But either which way, Bond is kind of naked at this point.
Agree with that.
Yeah, so he is off his game, and this is, to a certain extent, I mean, these early Bond movies, he does get exposed and hurt quite a bit more often than Roger Moore ever does. So he does have to get a little lucky in here because the only thing he's got on his side now is the suitcase is the case from Q at this point. That, I mean, he's exposed to the point where that's his only advantage.
Right. That's skipping the dinner, though, where Grant knocked out the girl.
Yes.
They put her back in the room, and Grant has set up an escape for himself.
Right.
the train. Now he's going to kill Bond, take the Lecter, and go.
Right. Now, this is one thing that is kind of actually intelligent. Maybe one of the few times this has ever happened in a Bond movie. Grant doesn't tell Bond what his escape route is. He doesn't tell him the full thing other than, I have this film of the two of you screwing, and out of that it's going to be a murder-suicide. That's how this is going to go.
But he's still dumb. Like again, Kronstein did not foresee the greed and stupidity of the agents enacting his plan. Right?
Sure. I mean, no, I agree. I agree with that because
socialism is perfect except for people, right? It's the same thing. Like great plans are perfect, except for people.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like
this is why I feel like they punished the wrong person, but we'll talk about that.
Well, Kronstein does pay for his. Yes, you are technically
it's number
right.
three's people executing, and
right. It's number five's. That's fair.
It was a good plan. It was poorly executed. Anyway.
Right.
Agree.
Fair enough, but Kronstein does pay for the plan not quite working out the way it should. Because I mean, you're right. I mean, like in a way, Grant is boasting at this point.
Yeah,
he does fall into that crevasse, if you will.
But of course,
I won't.
It's the Q device that saves the day, right? As it usually is.
That is the one thing that Kronstein does not account for.
Right.
Is a gadget.
Is a gadget, right?
A foreign player in this, which would be a gadget. Yeah. Because everything up to that point, like, I mean, and Grant he's more than a match physically.
All Grant has to do is just do the thing. Just
pull the trigger.
Well, there's another point to this.
He has to wait for. There's something he has to wait for too. In order to pull the trigger.
There's also the human element of everyone wanting Bond to suffer.
Yes.
Because he killed Dr. No. He can't just kill him quickly, right? Which would be the ideal situation. They all want him to suffer.
Yeah, and I think even Grant even laments that, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's like, if it were up to me, you'd be dead. Basically.
It's not Kronstein's fault.
No.
Right?
Well, no, that's Blofeld's fault, but he's not going to be the one taking the punishment.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Wait, what are they waiting on though? So what does he have to wait for?
Well, there is also he can't just. I mean, he's got to. There's the pain and suffering part, but I think there's actually something else he has to wait for before he can. Even though he's got a silencer, he's waiting for something to pull the trigger.
I think he's waiting until it's time to leave.
Until they the train gets to the station.
Well, yeah, because there's the truck that's been placed that those people have been bought off to sit on the track, which is why Bond says when the train stops, this was Grant's escape route.
Yeah,
or this was his escape.
Right.
Yeah. So they've got he can't just kill him and then wait around. He's got to wait until he actually. Can I leave? I think he's got to wait for the train to actually stop.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bond eventually is like, yeah, it's up there in that case up there. And he opens it wrong, and the gas thing explodes in his face. And Bond, punchy, stabby. There's a garage. And he's got
he's getting choked.
Yep.
And then he struggling to pop the knife out. He pops the knife out, hits him in the arm, and then
turns it around on him.
Yeah, he takes his own watch and kills him.
Yep, and then takes that watch apparently and leaves it in his desk at the office.
Yes, because he sees it later.
Yep, sure does. He's reliving some of his past fun.
Yes, indeed.
So anyway, yeah. So at this point, and then. He's got to go wake up Tatiana. Yeah, he's like, hey, it's time to go. Time to go. Now, also, it should be said that when Karen Bay died, he did initially think that she was involved with that. That he is now, because he does kind of rough her up a little bit. But
he's got to slap that out of her.
Yeah.
as Bond does.
Right. And she's like, no, she is like, she does not know anything that's going on outside of what her role is. And I think she kind of convinces him of that at that point.
I mean, everything she's doing should still upset Bond, even if she knows.
Sure.
Didn't know why Kareem Bey died. Like, he should still not trust her because she's been leading him astray or leading him.
Well, it's all part of the trap, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I do think that Grant is the last piece to fall. It's like, oh, Spectre wants that.
The thing is, though,
she's an idiot to all these plans. This is what is the, this
Right.
is the, yeah.
He knows she's part of the trap. He just didn't realize until now that it was Spectre, right?
Right.
So
And that she thought it was Russia. Like,
right.
he learns that
That's
she
the key
thought it
thing
was
he
Russia.
wants to know. Like, if she doesn't know it's Spectre, then all's good in the hood, right?
Exactly.
Because
And Grant confirms
he knows she's working for Russia,
Well, yeah. I mean, that was all that.
or that she thinks she's working for Russia. I guess
At the
that
very
was all
least,
established.
at the very least, he's thinking she's having a jolly good time on my rod on Mother Russia's dime.
But yeah,
That's
if she's
as far
part
as
of
he knows.
If she's part of Spectre, then yeah, Kareem is on her.
Yep.
All of
and
it's on
all
her.
of that. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. And yeah. And so Grant confirms that, oh yeah, she doesn't know anything.
Right.
She's just a honeypot to get this whole thing started. And so, yeah. So now we get to the next thing that is completely and totally ripped off. We've got the North by Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we got to have one of these things. However, behind the scenes, that's actually Sean Connery doing all the stunts. And apparently it was really, really scary. Like, everybody in the crew was like, these are so perfectly timed and the helicopter has to be so low.
Ooh.
This could go very badly. Okay, action. Go do it. But it works out.
Yeah.
I love it in movies when the person like pulls the pin on a grenade and then they get shot and then the grenade explodes.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite things. I love it even more in video games when you can do that to like an enemy. It's like it's so satisfying.
You could do that in Goldeneye.
They did it to themselves.
Yeah. How many times have you watched somebody walk by a proximity mine that they themselves have said in Goldeneye?
Yeah. But like literally, like the game that's great for this, at least the one that I've played the most that's great for this, are the Uncharted games.
Yes.
Because there's so many situations where you're getting somebody's lobbing grenades at you, and you finally see that fucker, and he's about to throw it, and you shoot him, and then it explodes, and it kills all the guys around him, and it's so satisfying.
Agree.
So yeah, basically, this is, Bond gets chased into the, he realizes the guy with the truck on the train tracks was Grant's escape route. They are not Spectre, I don't think. They're just guys that got paid off. They've got a truck bed full of flowers.
If they were Spectre,
Bond would have had to kill him.
Wouldn't ask him if he could swim and throw him in the water.
Right.
He would have killed him, probably.
Right. He's got a license to kill, goddammit. He's going to use it if they were knowingly bad guys. They were just taking a paycheck to park on the tracks. So yeah, he throws Tanya in the back of the truck with the flowers. He gets in the truck, takes, it's like basically you got to drive. And then the helicopter comes and he's like, you wait. I'm going to go deal with this helicopter thing. And then, yes, he gets to the river and is basically like, yeah, there you go. Take a swim while they get on a little boat.
Yep.
Now they think everything is going to be great. But out of the fucking woodworks comes 5 more boats of guys led by the guy, the main guy of Spectre Island.
Yeah.
You have so many false endings in this movie.
Yeah. Like, where the fuck do those guys come from? Yeah, seriously.
So they're on their way to Venice Basically, they're going to work their way to Venice through the river, and these guys show up. And this is another funny behind the scenes thing. So the main image from this movie is of Bond pointing the flare gun with his little captain's hat on.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, this is the boat. So this is also the guy in the truck's boat, because he takes the hat from that guy.
Yeah.
So he took everything from that guy. Anyway, watch out who you take money from, because Bond will fucking take it all from you. So anyway, they're getting shot at, and these barrels of gasoline are taking damage. So he's like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna dump these off. And at first you think, oh, he's doing that to go faster. No, he's going to light that fucking river on fire.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I knew that's why he was doing it.
Absolutely.
He's gonna do a little ecological terrorism.
Yes.
And it works. However, behind the scenes, it did not. They said, okay, these are the number. We need hundreds of gallons of fuel, basically, to light this river on fire.
Oh, my God.
And they're like, okay.
Do they really dump, like, all that much gasoline in the river?
Wow. However many, like, I think each one of those things were like 20-gallon things. So there was 5 of them. So we need about 100. So they let it go. They film, they're like, okay, here comes Bond. Okay, Sean Connery's going to get up. He shoots the thing. He hit it.
What was
What happened to the boats? Where are the boats at? The boats that are supposed to drive through that. Oh, they didn't come because it was all a test thing. They weren't supposed to shoot it. They were just like plotting out the scene, the shots.
Oh, God. So
they actually exploded it, and they're like, we don't have another 5. So they had to like hurry up and like, we got to get 5 more drums of this like tomorrow, because we are 3 months away from this premiering, and this shit's got to get done.
That's an expensive stunt too.
Exactly. It was, it was like I think they said it was, I don't know what it was, but it was a big undertaking, because if you're going to light water on fire,
the most expensive scene in the movie. It's got to be. Coordination and.
I don't know, because that scene of the chess match, that room they built, not the ceiling, because the ceiling's not there. That room was $150,000 room.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know, but anyway, they're like, it was like one of the last things they shot, and it's like, we fucked it up, and it's really difficult to do, because if you're gonna light a body of water on fire, that takes a lot of work.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. So again, how do these things work out to work out? It's like, it's crazy. But anyway.
Where did they actually shoot that? Do you know? Where was what
I
body
don't.
of water did they shoot that in?
Nowadays
nowadays you just do it in a tank or something. But
I don't.
Fuck. Nowadays it'd just be fake as fuck.
Was that were they shooting that in Scotland? I think they said they were shooting some of that in Scotland.
No matter. I'm just wondering which lake got like ruined for a decade. Like dumping gasoline into it.
Oh no, here we go. It was shot in Pinewood. A lot of this was because like all that garden stuff was in Pinewood.
But the water wasn't in Pinewood.
Yeah, it was. The explosion was because when it got out of control, Walter Gotell's eyelids got burnt.
So how did they get the water in there? Did they build a tank?
I think they have like a little like tribute, like a little fake river or something in there, because Pinewood has basically everything.
Yeah, but I mean that's pretty big. I don't know.
I'm just telling you what your Wikipedia.
I wonder
says.
I wonder if they did like a composite or something.
There might have been more close-ups, because I know
they didn't actually pour gasoline into a body of water. They just built one.
Good job, fellas. I mean, people who dropped the... Yeah.
Yeah, because some of it was, so there was some stuff shot in, okay, Argyll, Scotland was where the boat chase was, but then there were probably like more close up of like the controlled stuff. Yeah, that was probably the Pinewood
composite shot, or they built like a small tank or something.
That would be my suspicion, but like, yeah, either which way, Walter Gotell's eyelids got burnt in that explosion. So it got a little out of control.
It's a good looking explosion.
It is. It's a big one. It is very big. So anyway, so they get to Venice, and we're not done yet. This is the end. This is it. Because they've got the Lecter, they've got the girl. They've apparently thwarted Spectre once more. Bond is calling us all in, and as he's calling it in, housekeeping
cleaning lady shows up.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, so good.
And
so stupid.
So she shows up, and
this is the height of like Bond type camp here.
Well, she also, this isn't very smart on her part, because she should know that the one person who can identify her is right there in the room. And she gets identified, but she's like, shh, and she wants to just pick up the Lecter and leave.
Yeah, she thinks that.
Well, she has the same kind of hubris that Bond does.
Yeah.
The woman is still on her side.
On her side, right? Exactly.
And has just been carried through by Bond, like magically getting out of situations.
Right.
Right.
Even the way I read it.
She's like threatened her life, you know.
Yeah.
She could easily defect to England at this point. Yeah.
So she tries to pick it up and leave, but then basically she's going to finally kill Bond with the little poison dagger in her shoe that Walter Gotell used to kill Kronstein. And she tries kicking at him, and he just basically lion tames her with a chair.
It's like those commercials where like Popeye would or cartoons where Popeye would put his hand on somebody's head.
Yeah.
And they couldn't reach him.
Yeah. And they're just throwing haymakers at the air. Yeah.
So stupid.
So basically Bond's gun gets dropped in this ensuing fight, and Tanya decides, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to defect. And shoots Rosa Klebb. She dies. He and Bond and Tanya decide to get in a boat, see the sights, and apparently just fuck on this boat in Venice, as you do. And he gets rid of the film, although I don't think any of that matters. I mean, M basically said, "Yeah, go do that," you know.
Yeah.
But whatever. And that's it. The Spectre is thwarted one more time.
Indeed.
There was a couple of things in this also that is, there was one thing we didn't really talk about, how there was the Russian assassin. So Bond and Tanya were going to go to where the chess match was, and there was a Russian assassin that's following them. Or not where the chess match was. It was like some sort of like cathedral or something. And they're basically being followed by a Russian agent. Now, originally in the script, Bond was supposed to kill that agent himself, but it was rewritten that Grant did it. And apparently, according to people behind the scenes,
Robert Shaw actually killed the guy.
Yes. Actually fucking ended him. No, they said that changing it from Bond killing that guy in that scene to Grant doing it actually kind of made other plot points work better when in the script later on. That like there was a lot of this was being rewritten on the spot. And they were still trying to figure out, it's like, well, why would all of this go this way? Why would it work in this way as opposed to another way?
Yeah, I was
and that one little change
by that moment anyway, like what he was doing and who he was meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all it was essentially just keeping up appearances for Bond and Tanya. at that point. But yeah, basically the rewrite for Grant to kill that guy solved a lot of other plot issues that were already filmed and done later on in the film. Yeah, because it was like they were almost overworking the script, trying to figure out, because it was not the same kind of action-based script that Dr. No was.
There was a script to this movie?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, yeah. Trying to think if there was anything else here that I had.
I like this little tidbit on music. Barry traveled with the crew to Turkey to try getting influences of the local music, but ended up using almost nothing, just local instruments such as finger cymbals to give an exotic feeling. Yeah, I know who else used some finger cymbals.
Smurshing it.
Smurshing it.
Yeah, no, there is a really good, speaking of music, that is one last thing I have on this. So there is a piece of music that is used multiple times throughout the series called 007 that Barry wrote to put into this kind of like it's an action based theme song that gets used instead of the Bond theme in this movie. And it's often considered like the secondary Bond theme. It was like very heavy with percussion and so on. But it's, my suspicion is that Barry specifically did that piece because he was pretty he was not very pleased that Monty Norman got sole credit for the James Bond theme, despite Monty Norman's version of the Bond theme is never the one that's ever used. It's always John Barry's arrangement of the Bond theme, because the original Bond theme was just the guitar part. Well, Barry added all the other stuff in. So Barry thought he deserved partial credit for writing the other instruments that and it was never given to him.
Barry's a little crazy there, in my opinion. I will say I thought it was cool that all the train scenes, instead of having train sounds, they had music that had high horns that sounded like the train a lot. I thought that was pretty neat. Like it was written into the music that the rhythm of the train.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like John Barry is a really good composer.
Yes, he definitely is.
But anyway, anything left here on this one?
Not for me. Yet. I'm much more looking forward to talking about next week's Bond.
Yes.
Personally.
Fair enough.
Yes.
This was fun.
This was fun.
This was a fun talk.
It was a good rewatch. But yeah, I mean, this is a middle of the road Bond for me. Sorry, Jeff's dad.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, you know, the other reason why I picked this one is also kind of ties to why I picked the last one of this month too, is that this is also from an era. Terrence Young, who directed the first two, worked the most with Connery on how the character would be, you know, and he comes back after, because he does not do Goldfinger, and he comes back for Thunderball, and there's a little bit more continuity between Dr. No from Russia with Love and Thunderball's version of Bond than from Russia with Love and Dr. No's version to Goldfinger. But that's my own personal read, because I don't particularly love Goldfinger. It's, you know, I don't know. That's always the one to me that's like, I don't know. It's like everybody pointing at the same person and saying, aren't they the most beautiful person in the world? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I like this other person. You know, I like this other person. That's cool. But anyway, yeah. So, you know, I mean, this one is, you know, those first two Bond films are kind of different beasts than what the rest of them are. And that's
they can just kind of, they're like building blocks to the formula.
Right.
And they're interesting in that regard for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and then of course once you get to Goldfinger, then the whole thing takes off with the high action and everything. So, you know, I mean, this is kind of the last step to that. kind of like how the one that I finished this month with is the last step before a completely different way that the movies are made after it. So,
Right.
So anyway, so there you go. Yeah, next week we are back with more Bond. It's on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Very, very interesting movie, and one that I think should never be overlooked, ever. And I know Jason agrees with that. And I know
Yes,
that Chuck
indeed.
probably
Yes,
agrees with that
indeed.
too. That is next Wednesday, November 8th, next Wednesday morning. So this upcoming Monday, also at filmseizure.com, where you can catch all of these shows, I have a new episode of Monster Mondays where I'm looking at Son of Godzilla, getting that little goofy bastard in on the action finally.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that is Monday, November 6th. Both of those shows, again, filmseizure.com. You can follow us on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. We also have several places where you can listen to the show too. All of that stuff can be found at filmseizure.com. This upcoming Friday, at my website, bmovieenema.com, I have the 2004 version of The Stepford Wives. And oh boy, what a turd that movie is. Anyway, so you can go over there and read that. It's a fun time. It's a fun time actually reading a vernacular representation of me pulling my hair out of my head. So it's a fun time had by all. So anyway, next week, we are going to get back on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And, things are going to happen that never happened to the other fella. So until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.